I'm 23 and I've been out of school for about 4 years. I think I finished my leaving cert in 2019 and I was out of the college system pretty much a year later. And I want to dedicate this entire episode to my younger self when I initially started the leaving cert and finished the leaving cert, because that time in my life was so uncertain. And I think that there's probably a lot of people that are either in a similar boat or have been in a similar boat. And hopefully you can resonate to something, because I know I would have loved to hear this when I was younger. When you finish school and you finish the leaving cert, which in Ireland, the leaving cert is like your final exams you do before you go to college, university, etc., etc., etc. There, your whole life starts to open up, because you go from being institutionalized, you're in a system, you go to class at A time, you finish the day at B time, and you know that for 5 days of the week, literally since you were like five, if you went to play school, preschool, whatever you call it. You've been in this system, you get your summer holidays, you go back to school, and you rinse and repeat. And at the time, I hated it. I think everybody hates school when you're in it. But looking back now, of course, school would be so fun to go to. If I could go to school now, I'd love to go to school. I'd love to just go do things that I'm told to do, not have to worry about anything and just go through the flow. I have such little problems, but at the time, those little problems are huge problems. But the leaving cert is coming up. If you're watching this now, it's probably already commenced. So to all of you people doing the leaving cert, shout out to you guys. Good job for getting there. I want to talk about my experiences doing the leaving cert, things that I wish I knew, things that I know now that in hindsight would have been pretty fucking helpful to know. I'm just going to keep looking down at my phone because I've got a collection of notes here that I've collected since I finished school. So as I said, life starts to open up. You finish up being in this structured environment and then you go to college if that's what you decide to do. And all of a sudden, for myself at least, life began to move really, really fast, much faster than what I was used to. You know, things just start popping up left, right, and center. Experiences happen that you never anticipated, or whatever it is. You know, I think life begins to get that little bit faster. And I always remember hearing older people being like, oh my God, time's flying. And now I'm only 23. I'm not an old person by any means, but I can resonate with that to a degree. Sometimes I look back on a month and I'm like, where did that even go? Whereas when I was in school, it felt like every single day went by so slowly. And of course, that still happens now, but life moves a little bit faster. So the leaving cert for me was a huge catalyst for my life changing. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was the first thing that I really had to focus on and apply myself to entirely. It's like the first big set of exams, I suppose. Well, the last set of exams I ever did, really, but it's this first thing that you put so much time, you put so much effort into, at least I did. And it's all down to the day you get your results. So you put all this preparation in, all this work in, and it all comes down to a simple piece of paper that you get, and you get graded on the results, or you get graded on the subjects that you decided to take. Not everybody gives a shit about the leaving cert. Personally, I did. I don't know. I think it was at the time I wasn't 100% aware of what I wanted to do. My primary place that I wanted to go to was UCD, and I wanted to do teaching. I wanted to do primary teaching, and then secondary teaching was like my second option. And I think I threw physio up the top because I liked sports and I was a boy, and they were like, good, you do that and that'll serve you well. So I think the reason I call it a catalyst is because it was the first time in my life that I had to work on my own accord. I wasn't rocking up to, a part-time job where I was clocked in from 8, finishing up at 5 that afternoon. It was entirely up to me whether or not I studied. And I decided I was going to study. And I decided I was going to put hours aside and I was going to focus and try to do as best as I possibly could. That was my mission through 6th year. I also got really into the gym, and I think that was like a bit of balance because I felt like I was in a real structured routine. And that was the first time that I started to consider, oh, maybe I could do something with this. If I can really consistently apply myself to the gym, maybe I could become a PT and self-teach myself or something along the lines. And I think the leaving cert really showed me that I'm capable of working on my own accord. I don't need somebody to be, banging the stick and tell me it's time to start working or it's time to study. I was able to set aside a routine, a consistent schedule, and I was able to adhere to it. And that's the biggest thing that I took from the Leaving Cert, was the ability to focus on a specific task for a certain amount of time on my own accord. I knew that I could sit down and I could put in the work. I didn't need somebody to tell me. I didn't need the fear factor that if I didn't put in the work, I knew that if I didn't put in the work, I was going to be disappointed with myself. And that to me was super, super important and still is important to me now. I didn't even realize it at the time. I didn't know that's what I was doing. There was a certain shift in my mind where I was like, I have 1 year here that I can just entirely apply myself to this one thing, these 2 weeks of exams. And at the time, I cared. Of course I cared. I was like, God, I want to get a good Leaving Cert. I wanted to get, I think I needed to get 500 points to get the courses that I had registered on my CAO. So that was my goal. I was like, 500 points, that's what I'm going to get, and I'm going to work my ass off to get there, because I wasn't the smartest kid. I'm a smart person, but I'm not book smart. Like, I couldn't regurgitate things very quickly. It took me a lot of time to learn, and I had to figure out different ways to even learn. Like, I didn't know how to properly study because I had kind of just winged it the whole way up. And I'm putting a lot of emphasis on school right now. Like, in the grand scheme of things, when you're 60, school is a very small part of your life. Well, actually, no, it's not. If you're 60, school is essentially a third of your life. So it's a big fucking deal. And it's important. School is super, super important. That's not at all what I'm trying to get at in this video. I'm not trying to rip down the schooling system, because I think some form of structure and some form of organized chaos is important. Like, we're humans. We don't do too well in chaos. At least some of us. The vast majority of us don't. And the vast majority of us are programmed to fit into this schooling system perfectly well. But there is a select few that aren't. And I will put myself in the category that it wasn't for me. It didn't click with me. And again, as I said, I had to be inventive in how I studied and how I got these things in. I can't remember how I studied. I know I used to write everything out, but that's not really that important. As I said, the Leaving Cert for me was an opportunity to prove to myself that I can work towards a specific goal. I can apply myself 100%, and that I'm in charge of those results. I won't look at anybody else and say, well, you didn't help me or this didn't work. It's entirely up to me. I had a schedule, I adhered to the schedule, and I knew that on the day those results came out, whatever happened, I knew that I put my 100% in. That's all I needed to know. Moving swiftly on. I think the other reason that I'm talking about this is that my little bro just finished up school. Congratulations, Ethan, if you're watching. So Ethan is just finished 6th year, and probably by the time this episode comes out, will be starting his Leaving Cert. And just because he's my brother, and selfishly seeing him finish school made me reminisce on all this stuff, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, God, I wish, as I said at the start, that I had something to listen to that was particularly relative to the Leaving Cert. Because I was listening to loads of podcasts and stuff, but Joe Rogan wasn't talking about the Leaving Cert. Not to compare myself to him, but I would have loved if there was somebody speaking specifically to the exams that I was about to sit. I'm not going to go in detail to each exam, but shout out to Ethan. Congratulations for finishing school and going into the big bad world. I remember when I finished school, I was like excited to be done, but at the same time terrified, because now it was real. It was like, okay, you're finished school, so now it's up to you. You have to figure out what you want to do. The Leaving Cert is going to be the dictator of your future. That's how it was painted into my brain. And I think that's how it's painted into anybody's brain sitting the Leaving Cert, that if you don't do well in these exams, you will not get your course and you will not have a career. And I think as it gets closer to the time, that scare factor gets dropped a little bit, and people are a little bit more like, look, if they don't go right, you can always resit them. You can find another course that might fit the points that you get. There's so many options. It's not the end of the world, but you should still apply yourself 100% just so you can look back. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself, so when the Leaving Cert ends, I put my 100% effort into that. And if I could put my 100% effort into a set of exams that I didn't want to do, what the fuck else could I do? I could put that effort into anything. I could start a business. I could, focus on a fitness journey. Could whatever it is. I always use those two things as examples because I feel like they're easy to correlate time and effort into. Now, the Leaving Cert is broken. It's completely broken. When COVID happened, there was two years of students that did not sit any exams. They didn't do the leaving cert, and they all went to college. So all of these students were handed predicted grades based on their performance in class, and those predicted grades were given by teachers. I don't know if every single exam was corrected by external teachers or internal teachers. I thought it was internal teachers. I believe that it was the teachers you had would give you the grade for your leaving cert, which to me is broken because they're obviously going to be biased. They're going to want you to do well, and that's great. That's fantastic. For those 2 years that got the results, I don't dispute that you did great work, and I'm sure your exams were fantastic in class. But to put it into my perspective, I was consistently getting good grades when I was in sixth year because I was working the whole time. The exams just didn't go my way. I had a couple of exams where I had prepared everything I possibly could have, and I just shat the bed, as they'd say. The exam didn't go my way, and no excuses. That's my fault. But at the same time, if I had been given my grades based on how they were given during COVID, I would have done much better. The reason I bring this up is that the years following that had to compete with these existing grades that the students had been given from the teachers that were predicted. So they weren't true grades. They weren't a true representation of that class or of that entire year. And how many students went into college the following year? I don't know. I don't have the figures. Maybe I should have pulled them up. I don't know. But essentially what that said to me was that these students don't have to do the leaving cert because there's a pandemic. That's fine. But there's a huge opportunity there to redesign the leaving cert and redesign how that whole exam is conducted, because it's not tailored for everybody. It's tailored for a very small minority of people that can sit down, regurgitate information that they're never going to remember, do really well in an exam, and then they get the opportunity to go to college. So what that did when the grades were predicted and when they were given out to all these students, as I said, is they raised the bar. So now all of these, the next years are going to be competing with almost unrealistically high points. So say, for example, you had to get 500 points to get into primary school teaching. I don't know what they are. The following year is going to probably have to get like 560, 570. Like that's a huge bump. And it also puts all of the rest of the students at a handicap. I think that's the correct way to use that word. But that is broken. Systematically, that does not work, because now you've essentially told the whole nation that this leaving cert, these exams don't actually matter. We don't really need to do the leaving cert. You can still go to college and you can still get the same opportunity as everybody else that has to sit the exams. So if I was going into the exams, I'd be like, fuck these. Why do I have to do them and they didn't? I know there was a pandemic, but I mean, to me, that was the opportunity for somebody to step in and redesign the system. And people are probably like, oh, that's too difficult. But it's not physically impossible. It doesn't defy the laws of physics or the world. Like, it could have been done, and it should have been done, and it wasn't done, and now we're here. So as I said, it's broken, but that does not mean that you shouldn't apply yourself to it. Again, use this as a test for yourself, and use this as a proof of concept to yourself that you can work on stuff. You can put your mind to something and you can create a goal. And, if it means that you're at, an unfair bias, well, great. That means you get to prove yourself even more. You're like, yeah, those guys did this, but look what I did when I actually sat the exams. So I think the leaving cert is broken. And I don't say that for anybody sitting the leaving cert to be like, oh, well, sure, it's worth nothing, because it is. It's worth a lot. It's worth you getting a placement in college, which could set you up for the rest of your life, or it could just give you 3 years of an amazing experience. So it's worth a lot, but fundamentally it's broken and it needs to be redesigned. So whoever the Minister of Education is, I don't know if it's still Norma Foley, she needs to get her shit together, because that's fucked up. And that's coming from a 23-year-old who recently sat the leaving cert, and yeah. That's my view. Maybe it's a little bit bullish, and I'm also aware I'm not providing any solutions to fix the issue, but that's not my job. I'm here to share my opinions, and that's one of them. So, the leaving cert itself, talked about the prep. You put in the prep. If you didn't put in the prep and you're sitting the leaving cert, do the best you can, call it a day. If you did put in the prep, I hope that it goes great for you, and, again, prove to yourself you can study, you can work on something. You don't want to do the leaving cert, you put in all the work, hats off to you. You can do hard things. You've ticked that box, and now you have that confidence under your belt for the rest of your life. Because nothing's probably going to be as hard as doing the Leaving Cert again. Because when you are that age, like I remember for me, that was the first thing that I really, really was like, I so don't want to do this with every part of my body, but I have to. And it taught me again that yes, doing things sometimes is hard, but a lot of times the hard things are worth doing. The Leaving Cert itself, as I just said, it's broken. Moving on. You still got to do it. We're still going to do it. Go you guys. The results for the Leaving Cert, for me personally, were so anticlimactic because I was like, okay, I put it all on the line. I'm going to get these grades based on what I had been getting. I fell short. I got 450 something, and I think I was aiming for 500. And like 450, it's a good Leaving Cert. I was happy. Well, I wasn't, but I like looking back now, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with that. It's a decent results, but it wasn't what I needed to get the courses that I wanted. And I think now, looking back, that was a blessing in disguise because I would have either been in college now studying to be a teacher or doing physiotherapy, which I probably would hate right now. So I think the reason I bring this up is on the day, if it doesn't go your way, that's fine. There are so many options. You just probably don't know it yet. I still don't know all the options that are out there because I went one specific pathway that led me to where I am right now. But not getting into college for me was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So to talk on my experience, when I got my results, I was super bummed. I was like, this isn't what I wanted at all. Everyone's like, oh my God, look what I got. Look what I got. And I was like, don't look what I got because I'm not happy with it. And that's fine. Got over that. Stopped crying, figured it all out, and we're okay. I decided to go and do a year in UCD in what they called an open learning course. And the idea of this course was that you could select modules that you were personally interested in and you could attend the lectures on the modules and you didn't even have to be graded. So you could go to college for a year. You still have to pay for it, obviously, but you would go to college for a year. You would take these modules and you didn't have to do exams in them. The idea was that it would give you a scope as to what you want to do. You know, like I took sociology modules, I took psychology modules, film modules, business modules. I just took a whole mix of things that I thought I might be interested in. And looking back, on a top level, that was great. But like the social aspect of college, I think is so important. Like getting to meet new friends, having new experiences, partying, having fun. Like that's so important. And I didn't have that at all. When I went to UCD, I was jumping in and out of different modules and different classes, so I never really knew the same people. And I was a shy person, extremely shy. Like I didn't want to go and talk to people, which again, looking back, I wish I did. There was a handful of people that I would chat to and we'd grab coffees and whatever, but I was living back in Wicklow and I was going to UCD, which is like a 50-minute trek every day. So I wasn't really invested in college. And as well as that, I think I was still in a very self-loathing period because I didn't get what I wanted out of my Leaving Cert. So I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to attend it. I'm going to pay attention in the modules and do whatever. And you could choose whether or not you had to do exams in the open learning. And I chose to do the exams just so I had, again, some form of focus rather than just showing up to these modules with no outcome. Doing the open learning course, again, on paper is great. You get to experience all these different modules, but like for me, it was great for me, but at the time it wasn't because I wanted to be hanging out with people. I wanted to be partying. I wanted to be having fun. Like I was looking at all my friends who were in college, whether it was down in Carlow or in Limerick, they were living there. So they were going out and they had their groups and that they were getting like the college experience. Whereas for me, I would literally go up, I would sit on a bench somewhere and I would just wait in between my classes like a nerd. And that's fine because doing so forced me to think and spend so much time almost to a detrimental place where I was just tearing myself apart constantly. But in doing so, I built this huge amount of like dissatisfaction. I was like, I don't want to be here. I knew that there was nothing in me that wanted to be in college. Every opportunity I got to miss college or miss lectures, I did. But in doing so, the dissatisfaction caused like a desire for something else because I was like, I can't sit here for a whole year feeling like this. And that was literally what brought me to getting interested in photography. I was spending so much time, like, looking at what are other people doing. I was watching so much YouTube, listening to so many podcasts, trying to seek some form of inspiration to get me out of where I was at that time. I sound like I'm really bashing college, but I just don't think it's for everybody. I think if you want to be a doctor or if you want to be a physiotherapist, college is probably perfect for you. If you want to be a teacher, any like formalized role that you can't go onto YouTube and figure out how to do an operation. Or like, there's a certain extent as to careers that you do need college for. And for that, it's so important. And on the flip side, if you want to party and have fun for 3 or 4 years, college is also probably perfect for you. It didn't suit me. And I'm speaking again to my experience, because I think the general consensus is that college is great. It's 4 years, 3 years of fun. You do your exams, you get your degree or your diploma, and you're out the door. And I think that works for so many people. And I think that's great. That is awesome. If it worked for me, I'd be an advocate for it. It didn't work for me, so I'm speaking for the other people that it mightn't work for too. Just pulling up my notes again, people. Sorry about this. Very distracted of me. As I was saying, sitting and in between these lectures with nobody to talk to, nothing to do. I didn't have any exams that I had to study for or any assignments that I really had to prep for. Like, all of the assignments I could just do quickly because they were small little like side missions almost. So I was spending all my time again researching, like, what can I do? How can I make money without having college? That was essentially like the top level. So I was like, I'm in college right now. I have no money. I have a part-time job, but I can't do this forever. I don't want to rely on college to allow me to get a job and to make money. So how can I skip that step and make money without going to college? That's essentially what I was trying to figure out. And by reverse engineering it, I started looking at, like, what am I interested in? I didn't even realize how interested I was in videography and YouTube and photography. Like, I'd made YouTube videos with friends when I was super young. And I remember the thrill that I got from doing that. I was like, this is the best thing in the world. And I think I had just lost that because, again, you're in school, you're social, whatever. You're doing all these different things and you're growing up. So your passions and whatnot change. And it was only until I sat and was with myself and only listening to myself and only thinking to myself that I started to realize these things that I actually really enjoy. Like, I was watching so much YouTube and never in my mind thought that YouTube is something I would like to do. Because I was like, well, that's not something you can do. Until I was sat by myself and I was like, well, who's going to stop me? Because when I was in school, I was like, no, that's not cool. You can't do that. If I do that, those people are going to laugh at me, or they're going to make fun of me, or my idea will be stupid. But then when I was sat down with nothing to lose by myself, it was like, who is going to stop me? I don't have anybody that's going to be like, no, you're being weird. Stop that. And that for me was a blessing. That was when I started taking photos. That was when I started making videos. That was when I got my first job, was all from sitting there, not knowing what the fuck I wanted to do. So if you don't know what you want to do, that's a good thing. Don't fear that. It's uncomfortable and you get these waves of panic and you get stressed and upset and you think that your life's crumbling in front of you. But eventually you'll find that thing. If you listen to yourself and you pay enough attention to what you're thinking and what you keep coming back to, you will find something that works. For me, I was looking at how can I make money without going through college because I don't want to be here. I realized I had an interest in photography and it was a means to an end initially. I was like, well, I could charge €200 and do some photos for some people. I could charge €300 and do a video for this guy. I could figure out how to get really good at video editing. And then it began to grow. That was simply it. There was no like fancy networking techniques I used. In the interim, it was as simple as posting my work to my Instagram account because I loved doing it. Some people got interested in it and they asked me would I do this, and I just said yes. I just continually said yes until this day where I am right now, and I'm still just saying yes. Because well, not to speak of customers, but when you're trying to get that initial bit of income, if you just listen to what the people paying you are asking for, you can very quickly figure out what problems to solve and how to do it quickly. That's what I did. I'm not going to talk too much about business right now. There's other episodes on my account that are based on that topic. We're going back to school. Picking a college course. I've talked a little bit about landing in college and my experience, but going back to when I was actually picking a college course and how did I land on teaching? I remember I was sat in the room with my guidance counselor at the time and he had no interest in anything I had to say. I was trying to explain to him what my 17-year-old brain thought I liked and thought that I wanted to do. And he had no interest. He was looking to get me out of there as quick as possible. So he just jumped onto a couple of things where I was like, I want to work with people. I want to like figure out some way that I can give something to people, like help them, provide some form of value. I probably wasn't speaking as coherently as I am now to think I'm speaking coherently now. Anyways, he was like, oh, well, that's teaching. I was like, I don't know if I want to teach though, dog. I don't know if that's what I want to do, but okay, put it down. Because it was such a big deal to have courses on your CAO, because if you didn't have courses on your CAO is like your central applications office or something. I don't really know what it stands for, but it's basically when you get your leaving cert results, you will automatically be applied to those courses, and then you can select which ones you want to say yes to. So I was just at a point where there was nothing on any of these courses, but bear in mind, there's literally thousands of courses that you have to sift through and figure out, what do I want to do? Where should I go? What do I want to, like, I was too young to know any of that shit. I had such little experience that I had no possible way of knowing what I wanted to and what I didn't want to do. So I sat in that office. He told me that I should be a teacher. He told me I should be a physiotherapist, and he sent me out the door. So I was waiting on the day of my leaving cert results because I was told that's the plan. That's what you got to do. Get your good results, go to college, do the degree, and come back and teach people. So I was like, well, that's not the worst job in the world. I mean, you get good holidays. And to be honest, like it wouldn't have been the worst thing ever. I would love to work with younger people, and I would love to be able to be in a situation where I have enough knowledge to help them. Teaching would have been pretty cool. Didn't work out. It's all good. So again, if you're not happy with your courses, you'll pretty quickly find out when you're sat in your college and you're sat in the lectures and you're so disinterested that your mind begins to wander, and you're so dissatisfied that you start getting this desire for more. And then if you listen to that desire for more, it'll eventually tell you some things that you enjoy doing. And then if you get truly creative, you'll think about, how can I make money from doing the things that I enjoy? And if you continually do that, you'll make a little bit of money, and then you don't have to go to college. You can do it on your own, people. It's possible. If I did it, you can do it. What else did I want to say here, peeps? I said it's okay not to know what you want to do. I think that's the most important one. College implies that you should have your career and your life trajectory all painted out and polished, but that's not life, brother. I'm 23 now and I'm running my own business, but I still don't truly know what I want to do. Like, I don't know what this is going to turn into. I don't know what we're going to change. You don't know these things until you try new things. And I'm at a point, I'm 23 and I'm trying to force myself into new experiences so I can learn more and I can see different things, because until you experience things, your knowledge is extremely limited. And again, I'm 23. I'm speaking about all of this stuff from somebody with limited knowledge and limited experience. Somebody that's 40 probably has completely different insights on it than I do, but I'm at a place where I'm young, I'm willing to take some risks, so maybe I'm being a little bit bullish on that, but who knows, people. I've got to go to the loo. Bear with me. Okay, I'm back, and I've been talking a little bit, quite a bit, and I realized that I may have waffled on for a little bit, but I wanted to just summarize some of the points. So I think, again, the Leaving Cert is not the best system of examination in the world, but unfortunately it is the hand that you have been dealt, and it is your job to do the best with that hand, because life will consistently hand you bad hands and you have to figure out how to make them work for you. So use the Leaving Cert as your first opportunity to prove to yourself you can make a bad hand into a good hand. Secondly, college isn't for everybody. It certainly wasn't for me. I have a biased view on college because it wasn't for me, but some people will love it. It might be the best 3 years of your life, and that's perfectly fine too. But I'm speaking particularly to the people that don't want to go to college. Maybe not that you don't want to go to college, but more so to the fact that you don't know what college can do for you. And some people I see go in and there's entrepreneurship courses now. Bro, that doesn't make sense. I don't understand how you can go to school to be taught how to be an entrepreneur. It takes the entire aspect of being an entrepreneur out of being an entrepreneur. You're going to a schooling system that's tailored to get you into a job and work for the public. Yeah, I don't know, bro. Entrepreneurship courses are absolutely insane, especially in a college environment. Moving on, because I don't want to be a dickhead. It's okay to not know what to do. Perfectly normal, probably a good thing. If you don't know what to do, you're probably going to figure it out eventually. As I said, my experience was to sit with this deep dissatisfaction for my position, and it led me to think of ways that I can get out of there and, make a living for myself. Because unfortunately, it's great if you want to leave college and you want to just not do it, but if you don't have a plan B, then you're just dropping out, and that's not cool. If you have a plan A and you have a plan B and you want to drop out of college and make some money for yourself, and you think you can run a business and you think you can make a living on your own accord, that's great. But if you're just dropping out of college because you don't want to do the work, you're pussy. That's really it. If you're doing the leaving cert, best of luck. Focus hard. Do the exams and enjoy your summer as being a kid. Speaking like I'm an old person, but it's true. It's like the last summer you'll have before you're either in college or working. So enjoy it, to be finishing on a pessimistic note. But shout out to Ethan for finishing school. Shout out to me for finishing school years ago and telling you all my experiences about it. Although I don't know how relative or impactful any of them will be. But hopefully, as I said, I would have loved to be able to listen to something that's tailored to me when I was doing the Leaving Cert. So if you found any useful information in this podcast, drop a little thumbs up, maybe subscribe, tell a friend, comment below if you thought anything was crazy or if you thought something was beneficial, and I'll get back to you. But yeah, peace and love, people. Pleasure as always sitting here getting to chat shit in front of the camera. Life's pretty good, can't complain. And if I was able to drop out of college and make something of myself, you can definitely do it, because I'm just Dylan. Okay, bye, people.